Good day to each and everyone. To formally start our discussion, I will first introduce our topic. Our topic is all about the introduction to globalization. First, do you know who is the person invented the globalization? So, the person who invented the globalization is a German-born American economist and a professor. He is Theodore Levitt. Next is about the history of globalization. We all know that globalization has a great impact since it expands day by day. It helps the people interconnected as we feel that we are in one society. The world economy also expands as it adopts the new phase of globalization. Globalization starts from the Africa and branches to other countries. That's why nation expand by the help of globalization. Globalization is a great thing to us because it was the time that wherein our things advances, and it helps us that through globalization the use of gadgets and the development of gadgets, instruments or technology helps us to make our work easier rather than the life of our ancestors this past decades, because globalization start from the 18th century, then it was accelerated until now. But if we can observe, our ancestors only uses stones as their way of globalization, as their way of communication, and they are living in different places. That person or that group of person living in different places are called nomads. They have no permanent homes, and they are looking for foods. Once the food has not once the food is not once they have once they have nothing to supply with their foods, they look for other places. But compare it now, we almost have equipments and appliances. That's why we can use communication just like our cell phones, laptops, and other gadgets that exist nowadays. Foods are unlimited. We can buy all of those if we have money, but we can look foods in our surroundings by not going to far places, just like the nomads. Technology expands a lot, but our ancestors never experienced that. Our ancestors was the one who experienced a very hard yet challenging part of globalization, because things are only limited, not just like now that we have unlimited gadgets, we have unlimited informations that we gathered. So we will proceed to the next reporter.
What is globalization? Globalization is a process of interaction and integrations among people, companies, and governments worldwide. So it's an interaction among people worldwide, just like the trading and technology. It makes the world more connected and interdependent place. So technology has revolutionized the world and the global economy and has become critical competitive strategy. It has globalized the world, which all the countries to more ethical standards. It is also the process by which peoples and goods move easily across borders with the use of trading. The integrations of markets, trade, and investment with few barriers to slow the flow of products and service between nations. Globalization is also the result in increased trade and lower prices. So as we're facing now with the high inflation, the prices can go down with the help of globalization. Globalization also captures in its scope the economy and social changes that have come about as such result. So globalization is also the result of human innovation and technological progress. As we can observe, technology has evolved time to time. It helps us to live more easy and communicate to others faster, and also make our work faster. With the help of globalization, we can make our lives more comfortable and easier.
Good day, sir. I'm Kadet Matol. This is our group presentation in Shushu 101. It's a theory of political attempts to explain, model, and prescribe political relationship. It takes as assumption power is ought to be the primary and political action. Whether in the domestic or international arena, in the domestic arena, the theory asserts that politicians do or should strive to maximize their power. Rest of the international states and nation states are seen as primary agents to maximize this power. The theory of therefore to be examined as either perception of the ought of to be case that nations and political ought their own interest or description of ruling state of politician only pursue and perhaps only can pursue. Political realism in essence reduced to the political ethical principle that might is right. Example, the theory has a long history being evident that slides Peloponnesian War. It was expanded on the by Machiavelli in the French and others such as Thomas Hobbes, Spinoza, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau followed. The theory was given great dramatical portrayed in Shakespeare's Richard III in the late 19th century and underwent a new incarnation in the form of social realism and whose adherents explained social and hence political growth. In terms of struggle in which of only fittest, strongest culture of the polities would survive, political realism assumes that interests are to be maintained through the exercise of power, that the world is characterized by competing power bases. Political realists are often characterized as moralists that any means should be used to uphold the national interests, but pregnant criticism is that the definition of morality is being twisted to assume that acting in one's own or one's national interest is immoral of amoral at best. This is an unfair claim. Agents serving one national interest just claiming that any self-serving action is necessarily immoral. On the personal level, the discussion it invokes the ethics of impartiality. Those who believe in a universal code of ethics argue that self-serving action that cannot be universalized as immoral.
So good day, my topic is theory of Marxism. This theory is under the name of Karl Heinrich Marx. He was a German philosopher, critic of political economy, economist, historian, sociologist, political theorist, journalist, and socialist revolutionary. So, a Marxist is someone who strongly agrees with the political, economic, and philosophical ideas of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. If you are a Marxist, you are especially critical of capitalism. Marxism posits that the struggle between social classes, specifically between the bourgeoisie. So, the bourgeoisie is defined as a middle class, typically used with the reference to feelings of materialism when describing the middle class. An example of the bourgeoisie is the middle class who like to buy big houses and cars. A class of citizens who were wealthier members of the third state. So, what class is bourgeoisie belong? So, the bourgeoisie is the ruling class in the Marx theory of class struggle under capitalism. The bourgeoisie is the property-owning class who own the means of production and employ and exploit the proletariat. So the next is defines economic relations in a capitalist economy and will inevitably lead to revolutionary communism. So the example of this is paid their workers less than the value of the goods that they produce. So in addition of my topic, why is globalization is kind of Marxism? Marxist theory of modernity served as the theoretical basis of underdeveloped countries and nations. In the time of globalization, to join the historical progression of their own initiatives and to push forward their own modernization so as to enter the development course of human civilization. So, what is the main goal of Marxist theory? So, as we all know, the main goal of Marxism is to achieve a classless society throughout the world. As great as this sounds to most people, there are many capitalist ideologies which would have to be eliminated before this could ever happen.
So the fourth one is the theory of construction. The process of formulating, assembling components of theories into coherent wholes. The process of revising expanding theories, or light of logical, semantic, and empirical analysis, is the act of expanding, changing hypotheses and response to logical, semantic, and empirical investigation. Examples of that is the progress of technology. So, technology progress refers to discovery and new, improved methods of producing goods. And also, technology advancement boosts the productivity, the labor, capital, and other production elements. The conversion of inputs or outputs referred to the technology. Every day new technologies are added to the list. People can benefit from robots, algorithms, and machine-to-machine connections. So the process of technology also helps the economy because it encompasses a huge body of knowledge and tools that easy to use the economy, resource away, produce goods and service efficiency and innovatively. Technology progress is essential to economic growth and development, and the more advanced technology available and more quickly the local global economy can improve. So technology is also can contribute to the efficiency of business output rate and allowing for large quantities products be moved or serviced through rendered. Technology has led and increased the division, labor of its specialization or job within a business for their contribution to the efficiency which is business able to run.
Hi, good day. I will be discussing the theory of postmodernism. But first, let us define postmodernism. So it refers to the view that the institutions and ways of living, characteristics of modernity have been replaced to such profound extent that our society is fundamentally different to the modern society. In contrast, postmodernism is a term that refers to new ways of thinking about thought. So moving on to the theory of postmodernism, some other ideational perspectives of globalization highlight the significance of structural power in the construction of identities, norms, and knowledge. They are all grouped under the label of postmodernism. They too, as Michael Foucault, does strive to understand society in terms of knowledge power. Power structure shapes knowledge. Certain knowledge structures support certain power hierarchies. So, postmodernism, according to postmodernism theory, globalization occur because of the rich countries, the developed countries, who is economically stable and advanced. They have the capability to understand how society works itself. Associated with relativism and a focus on ideology in the maintenance of economic and political power. This means that globalization, with the help of theory of modernism, postmodernism, will improve its economic status and upgrade political power of different countries. So, in addition, postmodernism views includes reconceptualization of traditionally termed modern elements, methods, and styles, and to change these aspects for even more and further development. So postmodernism, like Marxism, helps go beyond the relative superficial accounts of liberties and political realist theories and expose social conditions that have favored globalization. Obviously, postmodernism suffers from its own methodological idealism. All material forces cannot be reduced to modes of consciousness. For a valid explanation, interconnection between idealization and material forces is not enough. So, postmodernism shows the social conditions that have favored globalization. So globalization exists because there is a need of global market and global government, because there is a saying that no man is an island. So no country is self-sufficient and it needs to rely on others.
Theory of feminism. You already have some background information on the ideologies and theories of globalization, particularly the theory of liberalism, theory of political realism, theory of Marxism, theory of construction, and theory of postmodernism. And now, I'm going to continue the discussion to give you a background information about the theory of feminism. Before we go into our main topic, let's first discuss what feminism means. Feminism is simply the belief that all genders should have equal rights and opportunities. It involves valuing the different experiences, identities, skills, and strengths of women, and working to ensure that every woman has the opportunity to exercise all of her legal rights. To put it in simply, it is the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of the equality of the sexes. And now, let's proceed to our main topic, which is the theory of feminism. Feminist theory is the extension of feminism into theoretical, fictional, or philosophical discourse. Understanding gender inequality is one of its goals. It looks at the various social roles, experiences, interests, course, and feminist politics that men and women have. Gender inequality in terms of sex and gender, discrimination and exclusion, objectification, structural and economic inequality, power and oppression, and gender roles and stereotypes. Marxism and socialism are key components in the heritage of feminist theory. To put it simply, once more, Marxism is a political and economic theory that holds that there are no classes in every society. Every member of society strives for the greater good, and class conflicts to its theoretically over. While socialism is generally speaking a political and economic system where property and the means of production are owned collectively. and typically managed by the state or government, and socialism is predicated on the notion that a more equitable society results from collective or public ownership of resources and production equipment. Moving on, you will be asking why Marxism and socialism are key components in the heritage of feminist theory. Here's why. Marxism and socialism both have the same ideas about equality. They investigate how class conflicts affect the economy as they work to create a more inclusive society. Additionally, the system aims for a fair distribution of the wealth that the working class and labor generate. The foundations of feminist thought may be traced back to the 18th century, and it developed during the equality movements of the 1970s and 1980s. Feminist theory, according to Burton, 2014, has Marxism roots but specially considers Ingles or 1884 work as a suitable beginning point. Considers that lived experience of one person or people, not just women, with an emphasis on oppression. The goal of utilizing the feminist lens is to make it possible to learn how individuals interact within institutions and perhaps provide ways to challenge and destroy oppressive systems and structures. With an emphasis on oppression, feminist theory takes into account the lived experience of any person or people, not only women. Disrupting oppression is a core pillar of feminist work, despite the fact that there may be not agreement where feminist thought fits as a theory of paradigm. As Hooks or the year of 2000 states, simply expressed feminism is a movement to eradicate sexism, sexist exploitation, and oppression. I like this description since it does not simply that men are the enemy. Now let's proceed to our first example, the liberal feminism. In the present world, liberal feminism is the most important aspect of feminism. Even though liberal feminism may appear to be the only type of feminism in existence, this philosophy has various subsets that span the entire political spectrum. A feminist movement that focuses on establishing legal equality through the democratic system is referred to as liberal feminism. Liberal feminism has a tendency to look to the state for equality and to consider it is the defender of individual rights. Liberal feminists, for example, support affirmative action legislation that mandates the organization and educational institutions make special efforts to include women in the pool of applicants on the theory that past and present discrimination may simply overlook many qualified women applicants. And for our second example, the multiracial feminism, women of color have always taken an active interest in problems pertaining to women. However, their involvement in feminism has generally gone unnoticed and unacknowledged in 1996. Multiracial feminism describes the activist and academic effort done to advance racial, social class, and gender inequality by women of color and their anti-racist white supporters. Multiracial feminism refers most often the feminism of Black or African American, Latina, Chicana, and Native American and Asian American women. I would like to end my discussion by stating the statement from Emma Watson: feminism is about giving women choice, and feminism is not a stick with to beat other women with. It's about freedom, it's about liberation, it's about equality. Thank you.
Good day. So the next is the theory of transformationalism. Like the hyperglobalists, the transformationalists contend that the globalization is reshaping the contemporary international order, including governments, economies, and societies. But unlike the hyperglobalists and the skeptics, the transformationalists argue that the direction of contemporary globalization is indeterminate. There can be a global integration or fragmentation. Instead, they see globalization as a long-term continuous process that is characterized by uncertainties, crises, and contradictions. A striking characteristic of the contemporary world is that it's no longer the dominance of states, as more and more actors now engage in shaping a new world order. The hyperglobalists claim that there will be absolutely develop a global civilization where equality among individuals will prevail is unattainable. It held in 1999 dominant views in the literature on the analysis of globalization. So in contrast, each point of view makes claims about the fundamental characteristic of the modern globalization, how it affects the authority of national governments, what drives it, and where it is headed. For example of this is the global trade in drugs. Globalization has made this possible by making the distribution of drugs more efficient, lowering the risk of premium of dealing with drugs, and making the drug markets more competitive.
So, what is theory of eclecticism? So it is a conceptual approach that does not hold rigidly to a single paradigm or set of assumptions. Eclectic approach is a method of language education that combines various approaches and also methodologies to teach language depending on the aims of the lesson and the abilities of the learners. So different teaching methods are borrowed and adapted to suit the requirements of the learners. It is also used by patterns, textures, and also the foundations of eclectic design as the fusion of modern and traditional style. Eclectic design marries decor from different time periods. So these are examples. It's carefully curated. So examples of this is a taste in music of a person. So this varies depending on taste of music of a person. So whether it's country music, whether it's rock, pop, it depends on what type of preference do you really choose. So this is a theory of eclecticism. So I hope you learned something.
Good day, sir. I was assigned in challenges in globalization. So the first challenge, sir, is international recruiting. So it is not surprising that 30% of US and UK tech leaders cited international recruiting as their most common challenge. So recruiting across borders creates unknown for HR terms. First, companies create a plan for how they will interview and truly vet candidates to make sure they are qualified when thousands of miles separate them from headquarters. So the second challenge, sir, is managing employee immigration. So immigration challenges cause a lot of headaches internally, which is why 28% of US and UK tech leaders agreed it is one of their top challenges. Immigration laws change often, and some countries it is extremely difficult to secure visas for employees that are foreign nationals. Third is incurring tariffs and export fees. It is another challenge both US and UK tech leaders said they face in the report is incurring tariffs and export fees. 29% agreed this is a challenge for their global businesses. For companies looking to sell products abroad, getting those items overseas can be expensive depending on the market. So the fourth challenge, sir, is loss of cultural identity. So while globalization has made foreign countries easier to access, it has also begun meld unique societies together. The success of certain cultures throughout the world cause other countries to emulate them. But when culture begin to lose their distinctive features, we lose our global diversity. So the last challenger is global expansion difficulties. For businesses that want to go global and discover the benefits of globalization, setting up a compliant overseas presence is difficult. If company takes the traditional route of setting up an entity, substantial upfront capital, sometimes up to $20,000 and $200,000 annually to maintain the business. So, additionally, global businesses must keep up with different and ever-changing labor laws in countries when expanding into new countries. Companies must be aware of how to navigate new legal systems, otherwise, missteps lead to impediments and severe financial and legal consequences.